Check, check. It is 6 o'clock. We're going to call this meeting to order. If we could, Boy Scout Isaac Brown is going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, if y'all would stand with us.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Brown, I appreciate you. Good to see you. Thank you. Alderman Miller, would you lead the invocation for us? Amen. I have a motion to approve the agenda in front of you.
Make a modification to the agenda.
Okay.
I'd like to move items 16 and 17 to the
Okay, there is a motion and a second to amend the agenda and move items 16 and 17 to the end after the planning items. Is there, all in favor say aye. All opposed, no. That motion passes. We have amended the agenda. Item 5 is to approve the docket of claim numbers listed on your agenda. Is there a motion on that?
So moved. Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The docket is approved. Item 6 is to approve the minutes from the regular Mayor and Board of Aldermen meeting of February 3rd, 2026. Is there?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. That motion passes. Item 7 is the consent agenda. Is there a motion on that item?
Motion. Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The consent agenda passes. Item 8 is the personnel docket. Can I have a motion on that?
Motion.
Second.
A motion and a second on the personnel docket. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion passes. Okay. Item 9. If y'all are wondering why there are so many people here, we're about to recognize them. We have the Hernando Middle School 7th and 8th grade volleyball teams coached by Coach Shively. And we're here to honor them. I'm going to read the 7th grade proclamation first. And this is an honorary recognition for sports achievement of the Hernando Middle School 7th grade volleyball team with Coach Taylor Shively, who went 9-0 in the district and 16-1 overall and are the 2025 district champions. I think that deserves a big round of applause. And also, the Hernando Middle School 8th grade volleyball team with Coach Taylor Shively as well went 8-1 in the district, 16-3 overall for the 2025 district championship also. I think that one deserves another round of applause. If y'all would, we'd like to take 2 pictures tonight. We'd like for the 7th grade team and the coach to come up first. And then after we get that photo, we'd like to get the 8th grade team and the coach up. So could the 7th grade team come up and be recognized?
Chair back.
Y'all want to hold this?
Put
Get it out front in the picture.
All right, 3, 2, 1. All right.
Still pictures being taken back there, y'all. Proud parents. Thank y'all very much for representing us. Coach, can I give you these for both teams? All right, if we could call the 8th grade team up. I'll get a lot taller in 8th grade.
Three, two, one. All right.
Thank y'all very much. We appreciate all of y'all's hard work. And everywhere we go in the state, people know who Hernando volleyball teams are. So thank y'all for representing us well. Oh, I need to give you this one too. Y'all are welcome to stay.
There's no way, Jose.
We'll give it just a minute to die down.
Yeah, he's going to have to wait the whole time. We can just do it like that. What you want? Yeah.
Okay, we're going to move on to item 10. Item 10 is the approval to apply for the FY27 MOHS Impaired Driving Grant. The police chief is here if y'all have any questions on that. If not, are there any questions from the board on that grant approval? Okay, is there a motion?
Mayor, I'll make a motion to accept the grant, or apply for the grant.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. And that motion passes. Item 11, Alderman McClendon had asked to present highlights from our Capitol Day trip, which is a great idea. So would you like to lead us off on that? Because you were there.
Yes, I was. So there was, let's see, Alderman Wicker, Alderman Robinson, Alderman Miller, myself, and the mayor all went to Jackson last week. We spent the night down there, met with a lot of, pretty much everybody that represents DeSoto County and surrounding counties up in the north. We got a chance to shake hands and chat about things. We also got to meet with the Leadership DeSoto group for this 2026 class. It's a big class. There's 31 of them, and in y'all's packets, the tables is like more of a breakdown of what the projects are for Leadership DeSoto this year. But the purpose of the trip was multifaceted. We got to interact with Leadership DeSoto. I want to say kids, but they're like my age. They're not kids. They're adults working in the community, developing their leadership skills and putting in place programs that'll last longer than the 1 year that they're in the program. We also got to meet with the DeSoto Economic Council. Obviously, infrastructure is like the key word with DeSoto County and what our needs are up here. Several people had said the problems we have here are things that other parts of the state so wish they had, you know? So water and, of course, the highway are the big things that we need up here in the north. So that's high level, like what we did. I thought it was very enjoyable, worthwhile. Mayor and I got to hear from just about every single representative, like hopping off of the floor. That day was the last day for bills to either ride or die.
It was a busy time.
So they were stepping out strategically so things didn't get slid by. But I mean, we heard from, I think, everybody on what they were proud of and things that they're doing, working hard in Jackson, representing us. So.
And we also got a chance to talk to a couple of the senators at dinner, you know, which is always a good place to do it, about a bill that many of you may not know about. If y'all remember 2 or 3 years ago, all the companies, the cable companies were boring everywhere, and they're still boring, but they used to hit our water mains about once a week, and we would be without water. So we put in place a boring ordinance with our staff, and it is working. We're not hitting water mains nearly as often. Well, while we were up here suffering through the ice storm, all the lobbyists for the cable companies ran a bill through the House committee that came out to the floor and passed that would take away the city's abilities, which I mean, by the cities, I mean the citizens' abilities to manage our franchise areas and our own right-of-ways. So now it's in the Senate. So if y'all know any senators, ours know that we want to not have that passed because it would take away revenue we use for those boring fees. And also, we would get back to that point of them not having a lot of supervision and hitting our water mains all the time. So that's a big one for us, because we've worked hard to get it under control, and we could lose control of it again and put it under the Secretary of State's office, which would be, not that they're not great people, but they're not right here. We can manage it right here. We should be managing it right here for our citizens. So y'all keep that one in mind. Anybody else on the trip want to add something? If not, we'll move to the next item. Thank y'all. Item 12 is the approval to accept the grant from the Community Foundation for the Excel by 5 4-H Lego STEM education session in the amount of $640. There was a copy of that grant in your packet.
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. That motion passes. Item 13 is to approve the resolution for donation to the Optimist Club of Hernando for the A-Fair in the amount of $1,500, which was a budgeted item in the tourism fund. Is there a motion on that one?
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion. There's a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. That motion passes. Item 14 is the approval to set law enforcement firearm purchase for retired officers at the price of $100 in accordance with State Statute 45-9-131. Chief, would you give a brief overview real quickly about why we're needing to do this and why it's different than what was before?
They changed the law on retirement weapons. It used to be that we would just, we didn't have to set a price. And when they changed the law that you had to work at a place at least 10 years before you retired to receive your weapon, they stated that the municipality had to set a price on the firearm. So that's why we're getting a set price.
And you think that's a fair price for a retiring officer?
Yes,
Okay.
if we surplus a weapon, we usually get about $200 for it. And if it's the officer's weapon, so I figure we could probably squeeze 100 out of it to give it to them once they carried it for at least 10 years.
Are there any questions on that item? Or a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you, Chief. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. That motion passes. Item 15 was tabled from our last board meeting, which was the approval for the Leo grant program, and that's the one where we were going to need to come up with match money of approximately $58,000 to get the grant for this specific furniture and set up for the dispatch system. We briefly discussed it as a finance committee, and I know we had been sent off to try to figure out how to get it funded. I will say, in the interim, due to some very diligent work by staff, and specifically our planning director, we found that many of our businesses in town, for some reason, the Department of Revenue was not allocating their sales taxes to our city. And we sent that list in, and it took them months and months. They are not through with the list. This was a partial list. We're not sure how much of it. But we ended up with an extra $550,000 in our last sales tax check for some of those missed. So first of all, thank you, Austin, for your hard work on that. Those are real numbers to the city. We appreciate that. But that is something that would drop to the bottom line of our budget as a surplus probably. So I would recommend that we could use that as a part of that as our match money so we don't have to give this grant back. I think everybody thought this was a good grant. We're going to have to pay for this stuff sooner or later on our own. So if we can use this as match money for that, that's what I would recommend. But I'll entertain any discussion and better ideas.
I think it's a good idea. I would support using that money to figure out this grant.
Make a motion to that effect to approve to accept the Leo grant from the state. Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. That motion passes. Thank y'all. Another item that was tabled, oh, I'm sorry, we're going to skip 16 and 17 because we moved those. Next is the approval of a one-year maintenance bond in the amount of $24,000 for Lee's Summit Second Edition subdivision streets, sidewalks, erosion control, and utility construction recommended by our city engineer. Would you just speak briefly to that, Joe?
Okay. As it says, I've prepared a one-year maintenance bond in an amount of $24,000 for Lee Summit Second Edition subdivision. That's the section over by Commerce. So we'll have this one-year maintenance bond to make sure everything is properly constructed.
Are there any questions on that? Hearing none, is there a motion?
So move. Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. That motion passes. Item 19 is the approval to advertise for construction bids for the DWSI Byhalia Road Water Project. Joe, you want to talk on that one for a minute?
Okay. The plans have been prepared. I think we're moving along with the Health Department on our loan, and we've gotten some deadline numbers through this year that we have to meet in order to get started, and so I think it's time to advertise that project.
Have we received any funds from the loan yet?
We have not.
How much is the loan for?
Right at $1 million, a little over $1 million.
Is this something that's going to be paid out of the utility fund?
It is. It's at 1.75% at 20 years, is that right?
Yes.
And that's the line that is going to put the new water tower and the new water plant really in service. They'll both be in service at a minimal basis until we get this line that'll connect them, and then it will really expand the reach of those two. And of course, those two are being paid out for out of ARPA funds.
It should come together pretty well this year, I think. Everything stays on schedule.
Is there a motion?
Motion to approve to advertise.
Is there a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. We'll have a roll call vote.
Alderman McGlendon.
Aye.
Alderwoman Lynch. Aye. Alderman Miller.
Aye.
Alderman Robinson.
Aye.
Alderman Wicker.
No.
Alderman Kitchens.
No.
And the motion passes. Item 20 is a planning item, PL 1947. Austin, if you would come up and handle that one for us.
Mayor, I'm going to recuse myself from this.
Okay. We'll let the record reflect that Alderwoman Lynch has recused herself on this item and left the room. And
this is PL 1947. The request was an amendment for the Winningham Estates PUD zoning that was tabled at the January 20th meeting. Shortly before this meeting, the applicants requested an additional set of time to consider it, so he was asked to table this application.
And I know we had tabled it before for the to make sure that the alderman in that district, Ben Piper, was here, so it kind of makes sense that he's not here again tonight due to work.
Yes, sir.
That we would table it. So, is there a motion to table it at the developer's request?
So move. Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. It is tabled. Thank y'all. We'll move on to the next item. Oh, yes, would you?
How long should stay in there? Good run your bet.
The next item is PL 1953. It's a request of the first revision to Lot 1 of the Regional Commerce Park subdivision, southeast corner, McInvale and I-269. Greg Smith's here tonight representing this application. This is the current Tractor Supply lot that's under construction. It was previously approved by the board on June 17th and is currently zoned C2. And so none of the setbacks, lot lines, or lot sizes are requested to be changed tonight. What they're requesting is there were 3 additional easements not reflected on the previous plat, 2 of which were existing, they just weren't on there, and 1 is proposed to be new. The sewer at this site did require a public lift station to service this subdivision, and the location of that that lift station was not located inside of an easement. So they've added an easement on this plat to house the lift station to account for future maintenance. And Joe Frank and Chris Lauderdale have been involved in the installation of this, have been on the inspections, but the proposed 20-foot sewer easement servicing the site is for that purpose. And so no change to the lot lines or setbacks, just adding those easements to this plat. And we will re-record this plat with Chancery. So it's in front of you tonight as a first revision. We heard this at our last Planning Commission meeting, and it was recommended unanimously by the Planning Commission for approval. And Greg's here, and I'm available if you got any questions.
Are there any questions for Austin or for the developer? Seems like a minor change, just something we needed to take care of.
Yes, sir.
There's no discussion. Is there a motion on the item?
Mayor, I'll make a motion that we, final plat approval for PL 1953. Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. That motion passes. Item 22 is PL 1956.
Yes, sir. PL 1956 is a request for a preliminary plat for Seymour Residential. This is on the north side of Byhalia, south of Green Tea Boulevard. Dr. Seymour is the owner of the property, and Luke Z. and Austin Wilson are here tonight representing this application. This does look familiar because in our last meeting, we did approve the office portion of this subdivision for some preliminary lots for some future medical offices. This is the parcel directly behind that to be serviced off the same road. It's 8.1 acres and is zoned R6 residential. And so with R6 residential, a minimum lot size of 6,000 square foot is required. What they proposed is to extend the road at a 26-foot face-to-face a curb into a cul-de-sac to the remainder of the property and provide for 21 single-family residential lots. There are 3 common open space parcels, 2 of which are proposed to be buffer yards between the office and the residential in the rear. That's under consideration tonight. And the third is their cluster box location in the rear of the subdivision. We did have a preliminary meeting with the fire department to make sure all fire code was satisfied with the width of the road and the length of the cul-de-sac, and it is. And so everything in front of you tonight has been approved by the fire department. With this being a 21-lot subdivision, our regulations do require a narrative and precedent imagery to go along with the preliminary plat, similar to a planned development. And so the applicant did provide a brief narrative showing the minimum home square footages, some architectural requirements, and some of the proposed precedent imagery of the houses of what will be incorporated in the covenants if this was to come back for final plat. Notably on this plat, the lots, all of which meet the minimum lot size of 6,000, most of which are almost double that size. But one of the things we did recommend the applicant do is recess the garages on the proposed home plan to provide more of a driveway to reduce on-street parking. And so he's done so with his proposed plans, and he can explain it a little bit more here in just a second, but he has agreed to incorporate some of that into his covenants when it comes back. As you can see, the common open space A and B are those landscape buffers between the office and residential. And one of the conditions that the Planning Commission recommended was arborvitae landscaping be planted within that landscape buffer to provide a year-round landscape screen between the two. And so the applicants agreed, and we'll be doing so if approved tonight. The other consideration is from the Planning Commission to incorporate the narrative and the precedent imagery of the homes as a part of any approval tonight, just to make sure that when this comes back for a final plat, that will be included in the covenants. It won't be built, and it will be bait and switch type of thing. And the applicants agreed to do that as well. This was heard by the Planning Commission at our last meeting and unanimously recommended for approval with those conditions of the landscaping and incorporating that narrative into an approval. And the preliminary plat that's in front of you tonight on page 4 of your staff report shows the 21 lots ending in a cul-de-sac off of the already or under construction medical drive that's off of Byhalia Road. I will note that this parcel does not adjoin Green Tea Lake, and so there's no possibility of connecting to that road. There is a large ditch, but the parcel doesn't physically touch it either. So that was a question the Planning Commission asked, is why it wouldn't connect, and they just don't own that property to cross it.
That is a small enough number of homes that a cove is okay with the fire department, correct?
Yes, sir. Luke Z. and Austin Wilson are here tonight as the applicants representing Dr. Seymour, and I'm available if you got any questions.
Any questions for Austin before we call up the developer?
Well, I think my main concern was to keep the narrative with it, but you're saying that's already been talked about and recommended, so
Yes, ma'am.
I agree with that recommendation.
And also, this area is already zoned R6. We're not doing a rezoning, correct?
That's correct.
You know when it was zoned that?
I don't,
That one was in the county, probably.
I don't know. It predates our 1999 zoning map, so I know it's before that.
I want people to understand this is already zoned for this type of development, not something we do.
Yes, sir. And that was another question of the Planning Commission, is R6 zoning does allow for some townhome, attached single-family, and smaller lots, but the applicant's not proposing that at all. He's recommending to do single-family residential.
There's no other questions for Austin. Would the developer representative like to come up? Zay?
Hey, I'm Luke Zay, 7960 Bay Road. I'm here to answer any questions you may have.
Your first time
First time what?
being in front of the board?
No, sir, I was here last month.
Okay, I got you.
I'm kind of helping orchestrate
I
the
got
whole
you.
deal, so. But
Are there any questions? Getting off light. If
Good
not,
deal.
is there a motion?
Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the preliminary plat for PL 1956.
With the narrative.
With the narrative included.
Second.
Motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Okay. Alderwoman Lynch.
Aye.
Alderman Miller. Alderman Robinson.
Aye.
Alderman Wicker.
Aye.
Alderman Kitchens.
Aye.
Alderman McClendon.
Aye.
And that motion passes. Thank y'all. All right, the next item is PL 1957, the Delta Landing Commercial Subdivision Phase 6.
Yes, sir. PL 1957 is a request for First Amendment of lots, Phase 6, the commercial subdivision for Delta Landing. Nick Crean is here tonight representing this application. This was previously approved by the board on October 21st, and this is the proposed restaurant lot that's at the entrance of off of Humphreys Way, adjacent to McInville Road. It's 1.33 acres. There's no proposed changes similar to our first revision tonight to the lot lines, lot sizes, or setbacks. On the original lot, the curb cut note 6 that you see on the third page of your staff report was shown as a hatched area across the entire lot, and the purpose of which is to provide ingress and egress between the parcels. And so it's something we require anyways, where if you build adjacent commercial lots, we require them to connect so people won't have to go back out onto Humphreys Way to enter between the lots. And so in lieu of a large hatched area that was going to create some maintenance issues for their closing attorneys, they've changed that cross-access easement to those two little notes on the plat. So there's no question of who maintains what for their parking lot, but they will be required to connect. And so we're cleaning the plat up to satisfy the closing attorneys, in short. This was heard by the Planning Commission at our last meeting and recommended unanimously for approval. Nick's here tonight representing the McBride family, and I'm available if you got any questions.
Any questions? No questions? Is there anyone here to speak on the topic? If not, is there a motion?
Yeah, tell us what restaurant it is first.
I really don't know yet.
Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the final plat approval for Delta Landing Commercial Subdivision Phase 6, PL 1957 on the agenda.
There's a motion. There's a second by Alderman Robinson. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. That motion passes. Okay, now, in accordance with the agenda change, we will go back to the item that was number 16, which was tabled from February 3rd, 2026, the utility fund discussion and adjustment of water rates in compliance with city ordinance duly passed by unanimous vote of the Board of Aldermen on October 4th, 2017. So what they're talking about with that ordinance is the ordinance that we had discussed, not really knowing about till this year, that automatically adjust water and sewer rates 3% every year, unless voted on otherwise. I think there's been some discussion about, well, should we just go retroactive on that thing and make it work, which I don't think is a good idea. That would be too much all at once for certain. And we don't need that. It would be over 27% probably. It would be a big number. So we have some options there. This board at any time can amend water rates. We do need to discuss the fact that we did not know about that ordinance and did not do anything with it and did not raise rates 3% a year. It was passed by a previous administration, two administrations ago now, and the administration that passed it did not raise those rates either during their tenure. So I got to thinking about it really hard this week and realizing that no one in the leadership of Public Works, no city clerks, no city planner, no mayor was here when that happened. None of us were here when it happened. There is no people who knew that was here. So that's how it got by the administration from 21 to 25. And it's unfortunate because all the trainings I've been going to since 2001 say that a good way to manage your sewer and water budget is to have an automatic raise in there. And I had actually tried to get that done during a previous administration and could not get it done. So I am happy that it's there because it is a way to keep up with inflation without it hitting all at one time. So that's just my opinion on that, and I think it is a good ordinance, and I wish I would have known it was there. So now we are at the point of needing to raise water rates to keep the utility fund in good operating order, and so we need to figure out how much that's going to be. The Finance Committee met on it and sent some recommendations to the board in your packet of some things that could be done to take care of part of it as cost shifting measures and some cost cutting measures. And I think those are in there, and we can discuss those first if you'd like. It was on this sheet of paper. It's got one highlighted item on it in your packet. Does anyone on the Finance Committee want to talk about that, or y'all want me to?
I mean, we basically went through and tried to make some additional cuts. My understanding, Mayor, is that we're down to about $465,000 difference. Is that?
Yes, we would need according to our CFO, he really crunched the numbers, and that's how much we'd need it to generate in the last half of this year.
So basically, we removed some salaries, we took some capital expenses out. I think we're removing all the salaries from, maybe, Mayor, you want to?
I'll read the list if you want me to. Yeah, so the first one was, Mr. Germany was getting paid just a little bit more than the current Public Works Director. That's a $4,357 savings that we could, just amend the budget and take that out of the expenses. There are 5 employees, I think, that the salaries are split between the utility fund and general fund. For the rest of this year, if we move the other half of it out where they're all in the general fund, that would save $70,741 through the rest of this budget year. Even though we need an operations manager, we have talked about trying to get through this year without one, which would be an additional $52,345 savings. We had talked about deleting the backhoe and pickup truck from the water department budget, which was $97,000. These are needed items, but the department has said they can squeak by without them this year. And we found another one. I think Alderwoman Lynch is the one who pointed it out, which was a good point. We pay the Hernando West sewer project from the utility fund because it's sewer. But the revenue that is sent in from the developers is in the form of a property tax and ended up in the general fund. So we've been revenuing into one fund and paying out of the other fund. So we really, the general fund owes the utility fund $85,000 to make that right. So that would be an $85,000 positive toward the utility fund. And then there was one other item. Item number 4 was to possibly adjust the outside city residential and commercial base rates to only include 2,000 gallons of water. The ones, somehow, the way it reads, the citizens inside the city, their base rate includes 2,000 gallons. The ones outside the city, the base rate included 3,000 gallons, which seemed a little odd. So we asked Dr. Barrett, who has the model for how do we calculate these, to look at it for us. And he said if we shifted that 3,000 back to 2,000 included in the base rate, it could produce an additional $58,000 annually. And that's on the people that live outside the city limits. So that's, I think that's the ones we came up with in that committee. Y'all have any ideas or thoughts on those items? Comments or questions on those?
I had another list of things that I kind of had from diving into the budget a little bit. Most of these things, and y'all should each have a copy of it, most of these things are just looking at empirical data from previous budget years and what's the most we actually spent on certain line items in a given budget year, granted that there is some cost increase in those things. So kind of leaving a little bit of margin there, but that's the vast majority of those proposed cuts that you see before you. A few things that are on there that I proposed taking the entire thing out were things which hadn't been coded, and nothing had been coded on those line items in like 5 years. So one of them, you see rental, it's 400-210-641. We haven't coded anything on that in several years. And then another one is let's see.
Where was that? I had one, just a question, while he's looking at that, the 80,000 there for, I guess, 210, 710, what is that?
That is the Green Tea Sewer project that we spent a lot of engineering money on, and this was to pay for easements for that sewer that our attorney would be working on over the next year.
Okay, so I didn't put that in as necessarily a cut, but I did want to put it in there because I wasn't sure
Just a question, yeah.
what it was, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So are you recommending we cut that or leave that in, or?
Bruce, what are your thoughts on that? It's in your wards while I'm looking at you.
I think we need to leave it in. They've been there 15-plus years with no city sewer.
And this is going to be a long, slow process, just so we're very familiar with the Green Tea Sewer. We've spent, I think, a couple of $100,000 getting it engineered. And when we went into it, we thought it was a $3 to $5 million project. Then they found out that we were going to have to run through backyards and go deeper and deeper with it, and it is probably closer to an $8 million project. So that's why we've asked Pickering to go out to help us try to get a huge grant that y'all approved. That would be part of it, would help pay for that. In the meantime, they've done all the engineering they're going to do for now, and we're going to ask Stephen to go ahead and start talking to these people and trying to acquire the right-of-ways. That's the next step. And that gives us a little breathing room while we try to find the actual funding, because quite frankly, even though we could get a loan for it, a very low interest loan, it would be hard to try to pay back $7 or $8 million off of, 125 homes. It's not a lot.
Well, okay, so the other one was not coded for several years was 400-224-491. So we haven't had anything coded there since 2021.
So our CFO and the Human Resources Director looked at that. That's being paid as a workman's comp item, but it's being lumped in with, was it sanitation? Like the whole sanitation bill, workman's comp is there, so we're paying it anyway. We need to shift that 1611 out of the bigger one back into this. And we should have been putting it there, actually.
Yeah, because my question was, I figured it was something like that, but I did wonder if that amount's already been adjusted to compensate for that. Like if we're not showing an overage in that line item, then presumably we
We're
made.
probably showing under in the sanitation workman's comp because of it, because it's,
Okay.
if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, so we are going to make that, Ed was already working on making that correction, actually, and it was a good catch, because obviously workman's comp needs to be paid on that one employee, and it's being paid, it just wasn't being allocated to that line item.
Right.
So it'll shift within that budget, so it's,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
It does. Now, 400-224-565, I think that was for a mower, and I think and the Public Works Department said, was it not?
It was for our side-by-side.
For your side-by-side, and y'all fixed that, right?
Got fixed. It was up by $7,500, but we were able to fix it cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why that's still in there.
Yeah. But nothing was coded as having been paid on it, so is that just not updated, or is that, in that item, there was nothing?
Right, because we didn't have to use that.
Right, okay. That's what I was
But you
thinking.
coded 500 to it, right?
Right, the
Yep.
budget was for 500.
Okay, so maybe that could be reduced down to 7,500 since it was fixed for 75.
And we discussed that at length. It's a gasoline operated side-by-side. It needs some maintenance.
Yeah.
Something else could be wrong with it. What was the number you felt comfortable with letting go back? Because the reason we had 8,000 there was, we thought we were going to have to replace the transmission.
Right.
We found a different dealership who would just fix it, which was a great way to look at that and get it done.
I would like to have a budget of 1,000.
Okay. So adjust that.
So we
cut
take
slash-
6,500 down then, because we spent 500, keep 1,000 in there. So that one might adjust down 6,500.
So I was wondering, I did a sort of similar play around with numbers. I kind of took like 10% off of things that were not set, like, I mean, we can't reduce insurance, we can't reduce salaries per se, benefits, things like that. I met at Public Works this afternoon, and as much as I could look through and say, we should cut here, we should cut there, I mean, I'm not there every day. I don't really understand all the processes, all the supplies, all the things that they need. I mean, we could sit here and go line by line, but would it be better to come up with maybe like a number and let our director will say, you know we need to make some cuts. Can we cut $100,000, and can she come back and like
Yeah.
present that to us with her knowledge,
Right.
of the department?
Well, and that's why when I made an initial list, and then I went and sat down with her and Courtney and kind of wheedled that down from there. But there were certain things on there that they just weren't sure, because they weren't things that so I have talked to them about it. So.
Yeah, they mentioned that too. I'm just using this as just an option if y'all, what y'all might think about
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Well, and
There is one other large one on here that I agree with.
Uh-huh.
We were trying to shift a lot of the city hall repairs back to the admin budget, and this 13,000 was put in there. It's for outside repairs to city hall, and it was put in there because we feel like one of our air conditioning units is going out, and we're trying to just be ready when it does. But I do feel like that one should be in the general fund and not in the utility fund, and I would recommend that one.
Is it this unit that's going out?
No, this one's doing pretty good.
I think it's out right now.
It's not working very well.
yeah, that's what I figured. I figured it could just easily be shifted over to.
Yeah, we just shift that expense to the general fund, and if we have to replace the air conditioner, it'll be there.
Hey,
Yeah.
what about the 637 and 630? That's really the only other ones that are a significant amount of money.
So outside repairs to storm drains, that is a $200,000 budget line item.
Yeah.
We have a lady down on Oak Grove Road whose home has flooded, and our insurance company has had to pay for it because we were liable for it. So we have bought the pipe, we have a low quote, and we need to spend about $40,000. Is it $40,000, Joe? To get it installed, so that pipe carries that water properly. We've also got a big one, 2 streets past Oak Grove Elementary that we've done partial on. How much more money does that one need? Going out West Oak Grove, and we turn back to the south, the one we've done a little bit of work on, I think Mr. Wilson did the first part of it, maybe?
Yeah, it's probably 10,000.
Okay, we got that one, and then you've got something you needed, we've got the Keeneland Road in Lee Summit that needs the pipes repaired under that road, and you said something about a junction box at Mount Pleasant.
Yes, we need to do a little work on that. We just finished doing some work on subdivision off of 51. $3,200 that was on that list.
Yeah, I think there was.
Oh, yeah, there's a big one on South Street, yeah.
Yeah, I think there's about 200,000 in there. So I wasn't sure, which is still higher than it's been in a very long time.
About maybe 3 years ago, we went through and did a lot of storm drain repairs and then kind of took a breather, but we did a lot, and the board was very proud of that, and it was good. But I can't think we were back on trying to do a big chunk of them again, because they kind of pile up, and people call, and we keep saying, well, it's not budgeted this year, we'll budget it next year.
Right.
Joe, what's your opinion on that? Because you're the one that kind of oversees the storm drain projects.
We'll probably need the $200,000. Got that drainage down to the ball field. Talking about that.
Yeah.
Man, let me back up to the first list
Yes,
that we
Alderman Miller.
received. That you and the finance committee went through.
Yes, sir.
Then also, the $58,000, that adjustment in number 4. And with those number, is item 7 still the number that the finance committee looking at? That if we just did the recommendation from the committee put down, that number look like 465,000, correct?
In the next 6 months, yes.
Right.
Deficit, yes, sir.
So it's not 2.6 million?
No.
Not no 3 millions? I hope the press will really put that number out there correctly. So, and then the thing that Alderman Kidd has talked about tonight, we probably wouldn't work on tonight, but ask Joe, the engineer, to come back and bring those projects up. I call them projects. That's a good name, but yeah. That we need to work on, bring those projects back, and let us look at those numbers there.
Yeah.
Then we can massage the other number as needed. Instead of trying to do that tonight, we'll be right back working with it.
Yeah.
And I think, and then in conjunction with Alderman Lynch was talking about as well, I think that our public works director and our engineer can come back with some good sound number along with the mayor, because if we did this and accept the recommendation, we moving down 6-7 months, and we had already 2 or 3 months in. We talking about 9 months, so and I think pretty sure that we can make other adjustments from there if we make these tonight that been talked about. I mean, that's and I'd like to, good food for thought, the thing that you talked about, because I was looking at your 525, for instance. We had when we received the spending report that Nicole sent out, we was already at 19% in January.
Yeah.
So that number, it's not going to be that amount of money left to even take out.
Yeah.
When you look at the percentage of what we already done used.
And I will say also in that same vein, there's a couple of them in there, like office supplies and supplies, that are showing that we're not spending much, but we're not spending much because she's been tightening her belt till we could get the rate increase.
Well,
we got some stuff we need to buy that we just haven't.
Previous years, so
Right,
like
that's
going
what
back
it's like,
several years, like looking at what's the most we've ever spent, and then saying, okay, we're probably gonna spend a little bit more just because costs have gone up, and saying that's where I got like those, and those are tiny cuts anyway.
Yeah,
but-
I'm just saying, but every dollar counts. So
Yeah, right,
every dollar counts.
I'm in
Well,
agreement with you there.
And one thing I was wondering about is 710. Is that already redundant with what y'all cut out with the backhoe or pickup truck, or is that something different? What was that?
That's different.
Which one are you calling 17?
400, 210, 710.
Yeah, that's the green tea sewer land.
That's the one
wait,
that
hold
we
on.
talked about.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that was something that need to stay.
Okay.
You know, based upon the history of not getting it done, what we need to do.
Yeah. Okay.
Because regardless if we don't do the project now, we still need to go on and lock down the easement, because the easement ain't gonna do what? Price for the easement gonna do what? Go up. It ain't gonna go down. So this is something our attorney need to be working on now, even though we don't have the funding in place to do it, but we can still lock the easement in place now. So I mean, that's just, because it ain't gonna do much, what, it's gonna go up. So I think all is getting a good first look at it, and so without everything that been brought forward, I think this board and the rest of the staff has really, and we want to thank our finance guy back there, Ed back there, for due diligence. And there again, if we lock these in, what the committee has talked about, we at 465,000, not 2.6, not 2 million, not 3 million. Ain't that correct?
I think it's important to note that we started out at a pretty higher number.
Right, that's what I'm saying. I'm talking about now. That's what I'm saying. And
we're at a point now, Mr. Miller, where I don't think there's not any more else to take out of the budget. And I mean, we can certainly keep kicking this issue down the road if that's what y'all want to do, but it's going to come to a head sooner than later.
No, I was agreeing that we do what the committee talked about here. That's what I was saying.
But that gets us to 465.
And then we start looking at the other numbers that we
I don't think there's any other number to look at. You're talking about maybe $25,000 worth of cuts on that paper right there. Am I wrong, Mayor?
You're not wrong. And none of these are really, except the 85,000, are generating new cash.
So for every 3% raise in the water, what would that generate?
Whether I know that number right off my head. Let's see what we're bringing in water.
I can give you some ideas of some numbers that I plugged in. I don't know necessarily what
Go ahead,
percentage
Alderman Lynch.
they are. For instance, if we raised the in-city residential and commercial, if we took the flat rate from $12.50 to $13.50, and if we took the next tier from $3.15 to $3.75, and the next tier from $3.50 to $4.25, that would give an additional $535,000 for a 12-month period for water itself. It would give us an additional 181 for sewer, but that's for 12 months. But we're only talking about right now for this budget, they'd be 6-month numbers, so that would be half of that.
What about outside the city limits?
So I don't have the exact numbers for outside the city limits because the model that we were using is only based on the 3,000 that we talked about reducing to 2,000. So,
And the people outside the city limits are only 12 or 14% of our total budget, so no matter how high you raise the outside the city limits, it's going to change some, but not a huge number. You couldn't balance it all out there for certain.
Yeah.
And wouldn't want to.
I'm sorry, let me amend what I said. Included in that, I did say that the outside rate, we would up the flat to 16, then 350, and then 390, 20, then 450, then 550. That was included in the 535 and the 181 numbers. But there's going to be a little tiny bit of an additional because of that. The model doesn't reflect the 2,000. I'll just go ahead and jump out there. That's what I think the numbers should be. At least that's less than the 3% that would have compounded for the past 7 or 8 years, which could have automatically happened. It keeps the flat rate. That's a low increase in the flat rate, which is something that Dr. Barrett recommended. And anyway, what do y'all think?
What'd you say the rates were again?
The current or the
proposed rates?
1350, 375, 425. And then outside 20, 450, and 550.
If we did that, that would knock it down to what we need, it's 197,000.
There's also other factors to consider that we haven't talked about DECRUA or the wastewater fee that's a flat charge.
So we don't really know for sure exactly how much revenue, but you said it's the total revenue that would be gained from that would be approximately.
For the water and sewer total would be 716. For the year, for 6 months, it would be 358.
You said 716?
For a 12-month.
And how does that compare in total collections to what would have been if it had been adjusted upwards with the ordinance all along? Like, what would those total numbers be annually?
Well, now, you'd have to pull out that thing and look at that each time. What I feel like is for the in-city, the outside of the city, they've actually been paying less than inside the city, which is interesting because our tax dollars are spent on, city supplies and things, and we're using those. Their rates are, what I'm proposing, are a tiny bit higher than the 3% that would have, if it had been automatic. But the in-city people are lower than if it had been 3%.
Will you say those rates one more time slowly, just so I'm making sure I wrote them down right?
The flat rate for in-city would be $13.50.
Okay.
And then the next tier is $3.75, and the next tier, $4.25. Okay. And then outside would be $20, then $4.50, then $5.50.
Got it. Okay. Thank you very much.
I mean, yeah, we can, I just think we need to start talking real numbers here. And we've, like Alderman Wicker said, I mean, we've cut, we're the expenses as far as we can. I mean, this type of fund, we have to be able to pay for the services out of the revenue. I mean, is that the law?
It's an enterprise fund, which means that the ratepayer should pay it. This is just like paying your energy bill or paying your Atmos bill. This is a utility. It just happens to be run by the city, and this, the ratepayers are supposed to pay for it, not the taxpayers. So the people that use the services should be paying for it.
Yeah, I guess my question is, what's the aggregate total between sewer and, so you're saying the aggregate total between sewer and water increases, or DECRUA and water increases? I know we've got them sectioned off. Is that more under that proposal, or if just the water was like, is the water increase under the ordinance?
I think that was just the water.
That was just water and sewer.
Right.
Sewer and DECRUA, yeah.
Right. Well, so that's my thing is, if you look at it like an aggregate total, it's like, is that, because under the one of the ordinance, I think it was like $400-something thousand that it would grow in total revenue increase that we would collect. And so my question is, between if we raise the water and sewer, is that still more in the aggregate than if the ordinance had changed automatically? That makes sense.
I'm not following your question, but I don't
You're
think so.
saying if we'd have followed the ordinance, that number, is that less than if we didn't do anything with DECRUA?
Right, yeah. Is that something where, assuming that just happened and then nothing was done with DECRUA at all, that covers it, but is that still more than, are we?
I think what she's proposing is less than it would have been.
Yeah, well, that's what I was wondering, because the thing is, it's, the way the ordinance is written, that increase was to cover, the language of the ordinance says the increase was to cover water price increases and sewer price increases. And so the way the ordinance formulates the price increase is that the water will cover sewer costs essentially, is
Well,
Invocation.
But the sewer cost that is talking about is not
The
related
fixed
to
cost.
DeCrua.
Right.
I think the ordinance is silent on the accrual cost. You can ask the attorney.
Yeah. Well, that's what I mean,
I
it's
think
like,
he's reading
because,
it right now, so.
because the CRUA rate that we charge is already higher than, well, of course, not counting I&I, is already higher than what we're charged on a rate
You want to have
basis.
Wayne explain the accrual since he's here?
Yeah, would y'all like to hear about the decrual from the CEO and Joe Frank?
Yeah, I think he's going to answer the question.
Okay.
I'll answer Alderman Wicker's question. The CRUA is silent, is silent in this ordinance. It does not, it's not addressed at all.
Right.
Specifically left out.
And we might need to wait on, the very next item is to talk about the new rates for sewer and DeCrua. If y'all are through talking about water and want to just move on and talk about that, and then we can come back for a vote on the water.
I think it might be good to put a bow on what cuts we want to do, just to like agree on that. I think it sounded like pretty much what everybody was in agreement on the recommendations from the finance committee. I think that was like a solid assessment of things that could be taken out. And then we can just kind of move forward from there. Would that be all right?
Chip, Denise, do y'all feel y'all can get some additional out of this list here? Or do you think you can y'all can give us a number that?
So we know how much we got out of the big one that the finance committee came up with. Denise, how much more than that list do you think you could find? You and I have been through it over and over and over, and there doesn't seem to be a whole lot in there. We had already presented a pretty bare bones budget to the board back in September.
Let me ask you this, so I think what Natalie's proposing, it's $716,000 a year. Divide that by 2, that's $358. Based on these 7, that drops it down to right at, we're off $100,000 for the 6 months. What if we took that surplus from the sales tax, use $100,000 of that?
It's legal.
That's what I was wondering.
But it's not this, there is a law that says you can transfer general fund monies to the utility fund. You can't do it the other way. However, it's just not good business generally, but it is something that could be done.
Throwing something out there, just.
Well, yes, I think we need to, that's an option. We should discuss the DeCrua, and, it's all little pieces of all the different things.
Yeah, it all works together. It's
It
like,
does
what is
work
the total
together for
amount
sure.
that's collected.
We had talked about, right now we pay as ratepayers, we pay $3.84 a thousand for DeCrua. And raising that to $4.84 would give $267.5 over a year period, which will be another $135,000 almost.
Y'all solved it while I was gone?
All you had to do is leave for 10 seconds.
You just had to get water.
But that
just kind of gives you a ballpark of how that would work, because we came up with those numbers, the finance
If you raise
committee.
it $1, it's how much?
It would give you another annually a $267.5. Which half of that for 6 months.
Was that not the 6-month number?
Was it the 6-month number?
I think, what did you say raise it to?
From 484 to 384 to 484.
I looked at raising it to 475, and the number I got was 398 for 12 months, which would be 199
Then this may have
for
been the
6
half
months.
year. This may have been the half year
think it
then.
was the half
That's a
year.
scribbled note right there from our meeting. Because we didn't decide to propose that, so.
Yeah.
Yours was 475?
At 475, that gives us 398 for 12 months or 199 for 6 months. And, based on our flow with DeCrua over the past 2 years, between what we've billed and what we've paid DeCrua, 1 year we paid DeCruit essentially $6.07. And the year before that, we essentially paid them $5.62. So we're certainly, and I know that the DeCruit rate is not that, but it's $3.71. But based on what we're charging our customers and what the infiltration is costing us, that's those numbers. So it's hard to keep up with that.
And I will say, I mean, a large problem what we have with DeCruit really is not a rate problem. It's an water intrusion problem.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely, yep.
And so it's like, I feel like if we address it solely from the perspective of rates, you know, then we're not really solving the root of the problem. I believe we have somebody that we're consulting with, correct, that specializes in pinpointing where DeCruit losses are occurring.
Right now, we have Pickering Engineering using our ARPA funds to do a project in the old part of town that are replacing relining mostly and replacing some bad old sewer lines. But we haven't really found any that you would say were a smoking gun. Nothing that's letting in millions of gallons that we think. But we are repairing those with ARPA funds to get started. And our staff member and Denise and Courtney together have come up with a company that is really high-tech on monitoring manholes and zoning things, and they're trying to get a cost for that. It feels like they would be able to pinpoint it in just a matter of a couple of months and figure out where our bad spots are, but it costs money, and we're trying to get a good quote on that to bring back to this board so we can work towards that. Because what we would rather do is spend a good little chunk of money and find out where the problem is and solve the problem. And then, sorry, Wayne, but we'd be paying y'all less money at DeCruit, which I think, that's right, it'd be good for y'all too. It would, yeah, because your capacity is an issue. So it would be good for all of us to really take care of that problem. And as soon as we can get that number, I'll get it in front of the board for what that might cost. And
Do you know about how much it would be? Did he give any numbers of generally about how much it would cost? Yeah, yeah. Now, did you say that like most repairs, if you were adequately staffed, like you could do most of the repairs in-house? Is that right? Yeah. And so, I mean, what is the most realistic number for how much I&I we could actually eliminate? And if you, Mr. Joe Frank, or any of y'all want to answer that, that's whoever knows.
I think that would be a Joe Frank question.
What's a realistic amount of I&I we could actually eliminate? Is it half? Is it 70%?
I'd like to say half of it would be a number to shoot for. You know, unless we found the spot or a couple of spots that really made a difference. We know some of our problem goes way back to when we had lagoons, and then we didn't have a lot of subdivisions. So there must be some spots that if we did a real study on with the technology that these people have told us about, we should be able to find a good bit of problem areas that we could fix.
And we've talked about this every year for the last 4 years, trying to get enough money extra to get that done, and we just have never been able to do it.
Well, it's like, because we're paying it anyway, you know, in the form of I&I, and then we're paying it every year, you know, and so if we know that this is something that's a huge drain on our public works budget, then, and it is, you know, because it's basically just a cost. We're talking about effective rates instead of actual rates, because the effective rates are dragged up by this. Then, you know, we could be much more cost effective by trying to scrape together this once we get past the immediate crisis, for lack of a better word, and you know, it'll pay for itself in pretty short order if we can just address the root problem.
100% agree.
It should. You'd be paying less to the crew, and you'd be taking that money and paying for looking for the problem.
One-time cost to solve the problem instead of recurring cost to the crew. And I will say our existing staff have been really good at finding some things, and they're finding little things all the time. We just need the outside help to find the major ones.
Okay.
So we're still on the previous item 16, which is water. And I know they all go together, so I understand why this conversation keeps going to sewer and everything. Y'all want to go ahead and discuss and hear from DeCrua and then go back to that item, and we'll do the water and sewer separately, but go ahead and do all the discussion now. Is that okay with everybody?
Sure.
All right. Joe, you want to lead the DeCrua, because the board had asked for DeCrua to come and kind of explain the budget and what they're all about, and just kind of make us all a little better informed.
Okay. That was two things. We wanted to see some numbers, some of the numbers that we generate from the DeCrua staff there, and maybe some people to come from our engineers with DeCrua and our executive director, Wayne Spell. So they're here tonight. Audrey Lewis has put together those numbers every year. So she would be the expert on all the numbers that you have in that information that I've got for you. That's something you can take home and study it, kind of read over it at night and look at some of the numbers. But you can look at some of the Alderman Kitchens asked about what kind of infiltration we got. If you look at those 2 or 3 year totals, you can see what we should produce without a lot of infiltration and what we produce with a lot of infiltration. So you can look at those numbers and look at those rainfall events. Audrey has come up with those numbers on that. Now, a lot of that is average numbers, so kind of keep that in mind when you look at some of those.
And we did get a report today from DeCrua, and we were up a little for last month, as was Olive Branch, but then we had a little more rain. It made sense. So that's when that one made perfect sense for last month that it was up that way. And we both had a little bit of infiltration. I think we had an extra 9 million over the previous month, if I remember. I don't have it in front of me. I'm just trying to remember reading.
Okay. I think Wayne wants to address the board, and then Audrey's available to answer any questions that you have technically.
And thank y'all for being here. I know this is a school night for y'all, so glad to have you with us.
My school night is now grandkids, which my kids take care of. So the mayor asked me, he said you guys were having these discussions. He asked me would I come and just be available to talk to you. I'm not really sure what you're asking me, but I certainly want to be transparent to address any issues you have. I think at a high level, DeCrua presents a budget to our board, and if you're not familiar with that, Mr. Joe Frank Lauderdale is your representative on our board. He's one of 7 bosses that I answer to. So DeSoto County has 2 appointments to our board, and then the 5 municipalities of the county each have an appointment to the board. So that makes up our 7-member board. DeCrua proposes a budget to this board around June of each year, and so they have that to talk back and forth and work that up, and then the board votes to approve that budget in August or September of each year. We're on a fiscal year that begins in October, so we approve the budget by September. And so Audrey Lewis does our flow chart, which you guys, I think, are somewhat familiar with. We estimate the flow of each member at the beginning of each budget year. So that is an estimate. You know, if you've estimated things, they're never exactly right. You try to get them close, but they're never spot on. And so at the end of the year, we have a true up for that estimate. But Hernando represents about 24% of the flow of DeCrua. So you guys represent 24% of our operating budget. So at the end of the fiscal year, we true up that flow. You may use 23 or you may use 26%, but depending on what that is, we have a true up based on the amount of product, if you will, that we treat for the city of Hernando. We have an additional true up of our budget because, you know, like your budgets are rarely spot on. Our budget is about $12.6 million a year. At the end of the last fiscal year, we were over budget by $12,000, which I was proud of. That's pretty good. So your true up as a member of our authority was about $2,000. So we work hard to not let that be a surprise. We do publish monthly the flow data so that you can see monthly how you're trending and you can kind of tell, hey, are we going to be under budget or over budget based on the flow. And so that's kind of how DeCrua works. Is there a specific question that I could help you guys with?
I have a quick question about the flow data chart, this one here.
Mm-hmm.
So are these numbers right here supposed to match the budgeted numbers on the front?
So I'm going to let Audrey Lewis, she's our expert on the flow data, so I'm going to let her answer those specifics.
Audrey, thank you too for being here. We really appreciate it.
Thank y'all.
Let me mention one thing I failed to mention. Audrey is an engineer that works for Wagner Engineering, who are the engineers for the Regional Sewer Authority. So that's how she's connected.
So which flow summary, are you looking at the most recent, which is January of 2026?
Yes.
Okay.
It looks like it's got through December of 25 is the one I'm looking at.
The 26th one, the January 26th got emailed to me today at midday.
Okay.
So y'all probably don't have that one yet.
So FY 25's flow summary.
FY 26. I was just wondering about the numbers down on the bottom.
Okay.
Like ours is 833,148 for the year, but in your budget is 869,157. So are those supposed to be different or?
He said that they changed based upon the flow. They budget, the numbers that budget were not necessarily would match up with what actually was.
Well, but this is the current that's still.
But they don't change
Yeah,
the budget.
technically it should be what is in that, it should be what's in that budget.
Okay.
Because that was the estimated numbers.
Like the grand total for all the cities is the same, but all the cities' numbers is different than what the budget flow shows.
Yeah, I see what you're pointing out.
No, it's 26.
And I would have to check to see what that 869 versus 833 inconsistency is coming from.
I mean, it's not a huge number, but it's.
Well, it would affect your pro
Our
rata
true up.
share.
Yeah.
Or actually your actual over your estimated, so that wouldn't affect what is, billed or what your end of year obligation would be based off of your actual flow. That is really there to give you kind of an estimate of your actual overestimated. So kind of where you're hitting based off of theoretical, where you should be for that month.
Right.
So you would actually, if it's the 869, you would be faring a little bit better.
Right. Yeah. Because the 25, the fiscal year 25 numbers match up.
Mm-hmm.
What other questions have y'all got for Audrey? She's the numbers person.
Well, in my 10 years of doing, almost 10 years of doing this, I've realized the only thing consistent about wastewater flow is its inconsistency, so, for what it's worth.
I mean, last week I was asking Joe Frank, it just seemed like our flow last year, our water sales were very low.
Mm-hmm.
Compared to every year since 2021. And our DeCrua charges were just out the roof. And I know we had a lot of water flow, a lot of rainfall, but I didn't know how that compared to previous years. I guess you have the cumulative, I guess you have that on there. So.
Yeah, 2025 was an astronomical amount of rain for the year.
Yeah.
And we ended up with over 70 inches of average rain. And as they pointed out, even though this is average rain, it might not be the actual inches. You might have had more rainfall over
Locally.
your member area than a different member area that really doesn't reflect the real infiltration over your customer base.
Austin, are the numbers you keep track of on your board downstairs, are they very localized to Hernando, or are they just DeSoto County?
That's City Hall rain events.
That is City Hall rain events, so we have some more accurate numbers that maybe we can share that would help.
Do you think overall that, who has the worst infiltration problem out of this? Do y'all know? I mean,
You mean out of all the members?
Uh-huh.
Well, what is seemed to reflect over the last few years has been Hernando.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. I mean, Walls has had some issues, but they don't contribute as much of the share through the system as Hernando does. I mean, it's not any less of an effect to Walls because they have a much smaller budget.
Right.
But it still hits them the same as these do to Hernando.
Can't you take that whole, just pick 2025 and then look at some of those numbers and see the difference in the low number and the high number? And then you can look at Hernando, and you can look at Olive Branch, you can look at everybody and see who has the biggest difference in the number. Is one way, I guess you could. Look at the highest number for 25, and then look at the lowest number for your city for 25, and see what kind of difference that made. If that's one way you kind of check on the infiltration.
You need to look at percentage
guess you could do a percent, see what, you know, who had the biggest percent of infiltration.
Looks like ours in Hernando varies about 25 million, and Olive Branch varies about 50 million. So percentage-wise, you know, they've got a lot bigger flow.
It's really hard, though, to say that it's directly proportional. So, you know, your usage is different over months. It could vary significantly from one month to the next, and whether or not you get a 2-inch rain versus an 8-inch rain doesn't mean that you're going to have 4 times the amount of infiltration just because you have 4 times the amount of rain. So there's so many different parameters that go into it that make it so difficult to kind of make that correlation.
What other questions do y'all have?
In the future, as the city of South Haven, Horn Lake, obviously if that big project comes onto the system, do you see any changes in rates or anything associated with that?
We've done extensive modeling for that, and it actually benefits the members, all of the members as a whole, when that customer base comes online as far as the rate goes.
I had someone ask me the other day why we went to a regional sewer authority instead of just staying with our sewer lagoons.
That was me.
Yeah, and Joe, the way I'm remembering it is MDEQ was telling us we were all too populous to still have sewer lagoons, and we had to do this.
Well, basically, our sewer lagoons would not meet the standards that EPA said that we had to meet. It takes a mechanical plant to meet those kind of standards, discharge standards.
I just didn't want to make sure everybody knew we were kind of forced into it. Hernando kind of sat around as long as we could, begging MDEQ not to jump on us because we were heading towards becoming a member of DECRUA.
Our discharge points are different. Discharge into the next creek.
That's right.
Discharge in a flowing water.
Any other questions? Thank you very, very much for being here with us.
You're welcome.
Y'all have any more DECRUA questions at all for Wayne or Joe Frank before we just move on talking about our rates? Might be a good time to take a pause and see if there's any citizens here that want to speak tonight. Is there anyone here that wants to speak on this topic on water or sewer rates tonight? Yes, sir, please come up.
Mr. Mayor and Alderman, I'm Lee Ellenberg. I live out in Jefferson Estates, out on Holly Springs Road. And I just, I thought, you know, I'd ask you to consider the cumulative effect on all your constituents. I came to the budget meeting last year in September, and I spoke then, and I asked to control the property tax, the millage rate. And I can tell you for me, my property tax year over year went up 17.5%. So my property tax went from $4,085 to $4,801. We know the Board of Education stayed flat, and the supervisors tell me for the county was up about 1%. So the majority of my millage increase was from the city of Hernando, is what I conclude. And so my guess is, with the increase in millage, the increase in property tax that I, as well as all your constituents, are paying, it seems to me that if you had a chance to do it over again, you may have reappropriated funding differently, and you would have thought about the cumulative effect to your constituents. So if my property tax increased that much, and your constituents did, last meeting, I watched it online, I couldn't be here, but you voted to increase the garbage, understand that, and now you got the water and you got the sewage. So millage went up, garbage goes up. Water and sewer seem like a short-term problem. I heard the discussion last week about DECRUA and the potential for new subdivisions maybe not being plugged and wastewater going off me in the county. It just seems to me like Y'all wouldn't have missed the 3% every year for the last 7 years had there been an issue. But all of a sudden now there's an issue, and the issue could be linked to DeCrew. I don't know how big that is, but I really applaud what I heard so far today, you know, the work that y'all did to cut this down from what appeared to be in excess of $2 million, to your point, last week, to what, in the 400s now. So that, I consider that significant improvement. And I think whatever changes you make, I think you should consider somehow them being short-term. We generally don't tax or add fees that come down. They don't come down later. They stay there. But this seems more like a short-term problem in that when you get to the budgeting process again, you're going to allow for whatever you have to do, you know, with respect to sewer and water. Maybe with DeCrew we find some issues there. So I just wanted to put a reality to it. I guess you ask anybody in your area, get them to add their numbers up, and that's what they'll find. You know, they're going to be the same. And so I know you want to hold down taxes. I know you don't want to charge people any more than you have to, but just consider the cumulative effects, and whatever your solution is, perhaps it's short-term, that can be better rectified next year, you know, in the budget process there.
Thank you, Mr. Ellenberg, for the comments. Is there anybody else here that wanted to speak on the topic? Okay, I'll go back to board discussion. Alderman McClendon, you had talked about putting a bow on some of these things on items, previous item 16. We'll renumber them when we get finished, but on the, I think I'd heard you say that basically those items 1 through 6 that that the Finance Committee had put together, you felt like, and I think everybody was mostly nodding, that was a good place to start on those cuts for sure.
Yeah, it sounded like everybody was pretty much nodding heads on those. Maybe that's, if we can stack hands on that, and then.
And so if everyone is agreeing on that in general, what about the numbers that Alderwoman Lynch had put out on the water? I wrote them down.
I think if you consider the proposal for the water and the DeCrua increase, it ends up being more every year than what was already in the ordinance. Because it ends up being, what, 557 for the 6 months? Or 491, something like that?
When you say more than what was in, more than the 3%?
Yeah.
That would be due to a slight increase in outside the city users.
Yeah.
Which have been paying less.
Yeah. How much is that again? How much did you say?
It didn't divide it up like that.
Yeah.
I mean, we'd have to play with that model.
Right.
Some more.
About 12% of the system is outside the city limits.
Yeah. So, and I guess the question is, to what extent, even in that 12%, it's like you add 12%, there's a marginal difference within that 12%, you know? And so, I don't know, my thought on it is, we don't really know if the proposed rates are actually a greater increase than what's already statutorily prescribed.
Well, the board has the ability at any time to set water and sewer rates at whatever rate they wish to set them, based on good general practices and giving good reasoning. And I would say if we're worried about the outside the city rates, and gosh, I've got a ton of friends outside the city and family members who are going to be paying these, but we just got almost $7 million in ARPA funds, along with the match from the state.
Yeah.
And those monies, let's just say we only spent them in the city. Well, then we wouldn't have upgraded all the stuff in the county. I would venture to say that over half of those monies went out into the county systems, the Jaybird plant, the Lauder Road plant, extending a water line to the Lauder Road plant, the new Getwell Road plant is going to serve people outside the city limits. We could have took those tax dollars and spent it just on anything we wanted to in the city, the first 4 million, anything. We could have bought a new ambulance with it. We could have bought a new fire truck, paid our people more. But we elected to spend it in what I thought was a prudent manner. We put all those dollars in the ground, so to speak, in long-term investments. But the people outside the city limits are getting the use of the citizens of Hernando proper, getting the use of those tax dollars this one time. And it's a big amount of money.
Well, and that's just it. I'm saying, I get that if you just isolate water, the variable of water, that it's more, that it's cheaper for the people inside the city, but I'm not sure once you add the DeCrua increase that it still is for people inside the city, and that's what I'm saying.
Gotcha.
I think it might actually be a higher aggregate cost. Like, when they're looking at their bill, they're not looking at, well, what's my DeCrua and what's my water and everything.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are.
Well, good. Many of them aren't. And
But
they're saying, what's the aggregate
not-
total?
No, I get that phone call probably more than you would ever.
Well, people wonder what DeCrua is, for sure. Because, yeah. go ahead.
But, I mean, DeCrua is not in that ordinance statute, so like, that's not really, it's a whole separate.
It's a whole separate thing, but both the fund and the bills are one lump, essentially. And so, yes, I get that maybe it doesn't solve maybe it's not the most proportional way to do it, but if it's still less total revenue in the aggregate, that it's still cheaper on the customer.
I still don't think the aggregate's higher. I think it's quite a bit lower.
It ends up being about, if you just do 3%, and it's hard to know in the city, but if you just do 3% on, what's it, 3.1 million?
93,000.
No, on the total water, projected water sales.
The total projected water sales are 3.1 million, and I think 0.03 of that's 93,000. Does that sound right?
Yeah, 93,000. Okay,
Yeah.
that's what you're saying. Okay, gotcha. And then times 27. And that's not exactly what it would be, but it's, anyway. I think I did that wrong. Yeah, maybe it is. I don't know. I'd like to get I'd like to get some actual numbers to say exactly what they would be. I mean, I know that a lot of people want to solve this tonight, but see exactly what we're actually looking at here in terms of the cost of the status quo versus the cost of, because the thing is, I'm not entirely convinced, like, in that ordinance that it even allows, normally the board has the total authority to set their rates whenever, especially in the case of a shortfall, like to be able to adjust that. But when you have something in your ordinance that says that they can't be adjusted downward within before a certain period, none of those rates were actually adjusted downward in any of those years, right? There's an automatic 3% increase. None of those 3% increases were removed within the years they were prescribed. So according to that ordinance, it would be, that 27%. Now, the problem is that because there is something in the ordinance that says they can't be adjusted outside of those budget periods, it's not clear that the board wouldn't have to amend the ordinance first before making that adjustment, because the whole point of the ordinance is to create a guardrail for the board changing the rates at different times, so that the adjustment of rates would accord with the budget. Now, if it was a matter of moving it up, that's one thing, but in effect, The question is it a matter of bringing the rate, are we in effect bringing the water rate down by setting it at a lower level than it otherwise would have been? Does that track?
Yeah. Okay, so I'm getting about a 19%.
Okay, that's what you're saying, with DeCrua and, my question is, how much is their bill actually gonna go up?
My quick math is about 19%, which is less than your 27%.
It's not my 27%, I was just saying. Yeah. So, that's what I was wondering, is how much does it actually end up being?
I mean, I'm not, like, I would want someone to double check my math, but.
Yeah.
I think you're using the theory that if you're gonna go back, we did not raise the 3% each year.
Yeah.
So what you is almost sound like you're advocating that you take 7 years and multiply it times 3% and go up that much. Is that what you're saying?
Compounded.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
Now, what he's trying to say is what Natalie's proposing is higher than that, which is.
Well, that's what I was wondering, is if what Natalie is saying is higher than that.
No, it's not.
But
10% or so less.
so, and then, because that's the thing, like, we're kind of outside budget period and all of that. I wanted to know how it related. Are we going up more than we otherwise could have had to go up? Because the number was floated around to me that the 27% would be like 400 and something in the low fours in increase for the 6 months. And then I was looking at that and it said 491. So based on what I'd heard before, it sounded like it was more. And so I wanted to see if that was actually more or not. So it didn't occur to me until you gave the total numbers.
And I know that, you know, I think at last meeting I told you about my personal bill, the numbers I looked at is a significant increase, okay? Might not be for some people, that $6 that you raised the rate last week. And I told you also that according to what our estimate budget, you were looking at $170,000 in late fees, $55,000 in reconnection fees. That was at the rate of $22. And now you raised that to $28. I'm telling you that we're gonna have more disconnect fees than we is late fees, because people not gonna be able to pay it. They already can't pay the 22. And then we moved it to 28. I'm talking about the citizen.
Yeah.
People on this board, they probably could pay it, but then we got to be the voice for the ones that we represent.
Yeah.
And that's my whole thing. And I still said that the $6 increase was too much. You know, majority rule.
Well, yeah.
And we can't go back, once the cow kicked the milk over, you can't go back and put the milk back in the bucket. Just because we didn't do it in 2018, that's milk on the ground now. We didn't do the 3%. And it's there to say, if you try to look at that now, you say, well, since we didn't do it, we ought to compound this. That might be a legal challenge there.
Well, I guess, okay, so I figured out what I was doing before. I took if you take the 3.1 million times 1%, that's 31,000 for every 1%. So that times 27 ends up being 837, which is lower than the annually, which is lower than the 900 and something thousand that we're talking about. So now there's a compounded element of that because, you know, obviously 27% isn't the compounded amount. So that's what I'm saying. But also that ordinance is self-effectuating. So whether the board didn't have to take an action to adjust it, the board would have to take an action for it not to be adjusted. So I think that's an important distinction that, you know.
Now, what I'm looking at, for the numbers that Natalie gave here, it was $716,000 in a water increase.
Yeah, I'm taking DeCrew and water together.
Okay, well, yeah, but DeCrew would be in sewer, not in water.
I know, but the point I'm making is, what is the aggregate, what is cheaper in the aggregate to the customer? Because if, you know, anyway, and I'm not saying I want a 27% increase either, but I'm also saying that if that's, you know, I definitely don't want to go over what that would be, you know. I don't want to go over what our ordinance would, in our total, in our citizens' total bills, why would we adjust the rates in a way that would make it more for our citizens that they otherwise would have been if we did nothing and just let the statute prevail?
I think that, to kind of echo what Alderman Miller was saying about looking at things in the totality of it, and the citizen that came to speak up about the millage rate, I mean, we adjusted the rate down and your taxes still went up. Same is true for me, for property taxes, right? And we tried really hard as a board to come up with a millage rate that would keep stuff flat. There's just a lot of unknowns. But it's important with the utility fund, it's not a tax, it's use-based, and it's self-funding is how it should be. So I hear what you're saying, Alderman Kitchens, too, on that. I don't want it to be a 27% increase either, but it's an ordinance that should have been enforced across multiple administrations. We're in the third administration that's had this ordinance. I'm on the ordinance committee, I'm happy to take a look at it, but looking at the ordinance right now doesn't necessarily solve the problem either. So, just some other thoughts.
Is it your intention going forward to follow the ordinance so in October we'll see another?
If that ordinance is there, now that I know about it, I would have to. I would be duty-bound to do it unless this board voted to not do it. So it would just automatically take effect on October 1 if the board didn't vote it down.
I definitely think that's something that we will discuss during the budget preparations that we'll have to approve before, so we would know if that was something we would consider. I would hope that if we do an increase, we could work on that for just now and to hopefully not have another one in October 1st. That would be my goal.
I would say that I think I can very clearly say that I know that there's nobody sitting up here who wants to raise rates. It's not fun, it's just not, but if we've got to keep the utility fund afloat, we've got people that need water delivered to their house, we've got people that need sewers fixed, and we just need to make sure we can pay the staff appropriately and keep them at the level of service they like to be at. And we're contractually agreed to two really large bills every month, which are the DeCrua bill and the garbage bill with Waste Connections. There's no wiggle room on those for sure until we get our I&I under control, and that'll help with our DeCrua bill. And we'll make the DeCrua plant more efficient if we get some of that water off of them. Please come up.
When you separate water and DeCrua, because you have to, because not everybody has DeCrua, but we have the lowest water rates in DeSoto County. I know when you look at the bill, it doesn't look like that, but it is what it is. Like someone came in, they did a thing, we have the lowest water rates in DeSoto County. It sucks as a whole, but I mean, that's what it is. They're the lowest in the county. Not everybody in the county is on DeCrua. Eventually they will be. She said hopefully that'll help everybody. But as of right now, we have the lowest in the county. And we have the lowest paid employees in the county as well. So we got to do something as a whole, and y'all have taken everything you can out of that budget. Like the rates have to go up. There's nothing else that can be done, y'all. We just got to figure out where and how much.
Thank you, Casey.
You're welcome.
And let me say for the record again, to be clear, even though we might have the lowest rate, I agree with her. I'm still saying the amount of rate that we increase still negative affect the people that I represent. They might not affect the people you represent. The people that I represent, hit a negative affect them. If it be staff step increase, yes, but the big increase, no. I just,
What do you mean by stair step increase, Alderman Miller?
Just staff stepping, we went 6, we could have went 5, we could have went 4.
On the garbage?
Yeah. I mean, it affect people's pocket. Like I said, the ones sitting behind him might not affect them at all. But that average citizen out there, they're gonna see a difference, and it's gonna affect them. And that's who I think about also in the running this city and everything else. I don't think nobody disagree that the rates shouldn't be increased. What we're disagreeing is how much should it increase? That's the disagreement.
Where are you on the rates that Natalie or Alderwoman Lynch proposed there?
And I'm trying to look at it, I look at each one at a time and then add up what it's gonna be. Because I think she said the 1250 to 1350, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's another $1.
That'll get the people that are 2,000 gallons.
That's another $1. Okay, we went $6 last week. That's one more $1. And then you go to the second phase. That was $3.75 and $4.25, correct?
Yes.
Huh?
$3.15 to $3.75, 60 cents.
That's 60 cents
3.15.
for 1,000 gallons.
$3.15, I wrote it down wrong.
No, it's $3.15 now
It would go up 60 cents.
to $3.75.
Yeah.
Yeah.
60, so you still hit that, you still got that $1 there and it's kick on up too, so. $7 don't even bother y'all do it. It's just in just 2 areas. So I don't want nobody to say that Miller don't want to do anything to get us out the deficit. I want to do all we can, but I want to do it that it don't hurt everybody to the max, and it's gonna hurt people. And I think the gentleman spoke earlier when we did the taxes. And it hurt the homeowner. It even hurt the renter because the rent went up because the owner taxes went up, and so he did what? He passed it on to the renter. For the night, that's all I wanted to make sure that was clear. So when I go out and say, I don't want to raise none, it's the amount.
What other comments or suggestions? What I've heard so far are the rates that Natalie gave us on the water, which would garner $7.16 annually, and then a DeCrua rate of $4.75. Any other proposals, or somebody want to make a motion to that effect?
You said the crew right now, I'm looking at my bill. My DeCrua bill is for $7.68 for the month, and I'm at the basic fee. So you saying that $7.68 gonna go to what?
We use 2,000 gallons, it's $3.84 per gallon. Per 1,000 gallons.
925, 950, 950.
915? Well, that's what I'm still saying, but you go back from the basic, if the basic was, I used 2,000, so it was 768, right?
Like the crew, there's no basic, we don't have a set fee, so it's gonna change every year, every month, basically.
Well, that's my average use, so I'm looking at.
Your average
I'm
use is
look-
2,000 gallons, it's gonna be $7 or something. right
That's
now.
what it is now,
You go up to 9.25 or whatever.
950.
950. 950, so that's, almost $2 more there. I know it don't seem like, that's Happy Meal money, man, you can't even get a Happy Meal now.
You get a Happy Meal for that anymore.
Well, you can have a Happy Meal for that. Yeah.
6, 1, almost 2, that's what that.
Well, and you know, someone like has 4 kids like me, my water bill's like $130, you know, already. So, be a lot of, you know, pretty big increase for people that have a lot of kids or people that have, you know.
So the sewer rate is tied into that. I don't know exactly what the number would be.
It's half the water.
Okay.
Alderwoman Lynch, I feel like the numbers that you put out there would solve the rest of this year for certain. Let us get caught up but I don't think it's going to give us a whole lot of surplus either. I think it's just going to get it done.
Right.
Also some one-time money from the interest rate, it's not gonna be there next year.
That's right. I am glad I have a finance committee now to run budget things through. Anybody have any more discussion or a motion?
There's no more discussion. I'll make a motion. Make a motion, recommend moving the rates based on Natalie's proposal for inside the city limits and outside, and plus items 1 through 6 on this recommendation from the finance committee.
The accrual would be on the next item on 17 with sewer.
And then there's just for, I'm gonna ask the attorney for this. Shouldn't that be 2 separate motions? That's right, no, he said he gave it all in one, that's 2 separate motions.
He was going to put the accrual in the next
No,
motion.
I said nothing.
No, I'm talking about item 1 through 6.
Oh,
He said
the
the cuts and the rates are 2 separate things.
Yeah, Alderperson McClendon was suggesting we go ahead and vote on
Yep.
the cuts, if you're gonna do that, and then you move to.
Yep, his motion was
Yeah, I agree.
inclusive of the cuts.
You're going to amend your
And
motion to do
and
one
what
of
you
them
call,
at a
that's
time.
2 separate, they shouldn't be together.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to approve the utility fund cost-cutting
You abandoned
recommendations.
your motion, Alderman?
Are you amending it? Okay.
Okay,
go.
so now, no, he abandoned it, so you can go ahead.
Abandoned, okay.
Yeah, I want to make
All
sure.
right. Okay, so I'd like to make a motion to approve the utility fund cost-cutting recommendations from the Finance Committee, numbers 1 through 6.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to go with the recommendations from the Finance Committee, items 1 through 6. We'll have a roll call vote when the clerk's ready.
Alderman Miller,
Aye.
Alderman Robinson,
Aye.
Alderman Wicker,
Aye.
Alderman Kitchens,
Aye.
Alderman McClendon,
Aye.
Alderwoman Lynch.
Aye.
And that motion passes. Would you like to make your other motion, Alderman Robinson?
Sure.
Based on the water.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to increase the water rates based on Natalie's recommendations for inside the city limits and outside. Do I need to read those rates, or?
The flat rate for inside would be $13.50, Tier 1 would be $3.75, Tier 2 would be $4.25. Outside the city, the flat rate would be 20, Tier 1 would be 450, Tier 2 would be 550.
Yes. You
There's-
could amendment, it's not necessarily my recommendation, it's just an idea.
Right,
We
just
could
an
just
idea.
put the rates in there, and I think that'd be good.
Perfect.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
It's a motion and a second. We'll have a roll call vote on that item.
Alderman Miller,
Nay.
Alderman Robinson,
Aye.
Alderman Wicker,
Nay.
Alderman Kitchens,
Nay.
Alderman McLendon,
Nay.
Alderwoman Lynch.
Aye.
Okay, that motion failed. Is there a new motion on water rates?
Any
Let's
other
move on to the
suggestions?
Mr. Miller, you have any suggestions?
What?
Huh?
On what?
About your Happy Meal, you got any suggestions to make the budget?
I asked you the same thing. I could ask you the same thing. I'd have had
I know
that
what your
question back
plan
out
was.
to
Go
you.
make your motion if you got a motion.
I ain't got no motion.
Okay, then we'll move on to the crew. Anybody got any suggestions about the crew?
Item 17 is the sewer and DeCrua. Who has an idea about that rate? It has been proposed at 475 or a little earlier. Just one idea that was thrown out. And we do know that our deficit, our biggest deficit in our budget is our DeCrua. We're not charging the customers nearly what it's costing us. What it's costing us is over $3 million, and we're bringing in about $2.2 million. So that's our biggest deficit item. And there's no fault to anybody. We just have a lot of I&I. Natalie, when you did your math, you had said that if it increased to 475, it would generate 358,000 annually?
398.
398, okay. So for a 6-month period, it would only generate a little under 200.
Correct.
Please do. Please come up.
My name is Timothy Taylor. I used to work for DeCrua, and they had I&I problems since 2008. So this is nothing new, but it's just the fact that, I'm gonna ask you straight up, how many of y'all visit the plant? Have y'all ever visited the plant? You visit the plant. Have anybody else visited the plant?
I have.
And I think you should take a trip out there. Then you can really see what the problem is. But mainly it's just the fact that money flowing through here not being accountable. So it's something that you got to really think about before raising it up. Because like Miller said, you're hurting a lot of small people. And a lot of people are starting to lose jobs due to the fact Amazon, UPS, so a lot of them ain't gonna be able to make it unless you want to go back to Sugar Ditch. And I think everybody know what Sugar Ditch was. So that's my point is, think about what you're doing first. Thank you.
Thank you. Any thoughts on the sewer and DeCrua rates?
I do think, just to restate it, I've already said it, but again, I think we do have more of a infiltration problem than we have a rate problem for the most part with the crew, and I know that, that's not gonna be fixed at the drop of a hat, but I do think that whatever is done should be done with the mentality that we are gonna fix I, and that it would be a transitory problem, not a problem where we would have a large excess after that problem was fixed. Because it's substantial. If we cut the $1.1 million in I we had in a third, we're at, a substantial amount of money. So.
Agree with you. That needs to be our top priority, is cutting it. We discuss it almost every budget year.
Right, but we don't have the money for the equipment or the contractors to do it.
Yeah, that's what I prefaced the statement with.
Well, I mean,
Joe Frank, did I understand you correctly? Even in the best case scenario, we'll still have 50% infiltration in our system?
Okay, say that again.
Even with the best case scenario, we did repairs and had all this excess money to do it, we still have about a 50% infiltration issue?
I think so. There's something to shoot at.
You're saying we would only cut 50% of the infiltration?
Yeah, 50% is the best case scenario for
cuts.
Well, it's hard to say, but I mean, that's a number I'd try to shoot for, I think.
do you think it's is it humanly possible that it would be more than that?
Not unless we found something that was really the problem, other than just leaking manholes or taps that didn't have caps on them or something like that.
But our overages have been, our I&I has been between what, 800 and 1.1 million every year? Is that about right?
what's that?
Our I&I, what's the range? It's like between 800 and.
You're saying the difference between what we charge the customers and.
Is it not by that high?
I think the biggest year is 600,000, right?
No, that's the true up,
Yeah,
which
that's the
is
true
not
up,
the
yeah.
same as
But
the
you talking about dollars, or
I&I.
you talking about gallons?
I'm talking about in.
So the
yeah,
2025 I&I
That's
was
a
about
600,000.
1.2, and the 24 was 957.
Yeah, yeah. It's consistently between.
Around $1 million.
Yeah, about $1 million. And so it's the difference in our DECRUA, half of that, not obviously that's aspirational, but half of that is almost the difference in what we've got going, like in our shortfall. So it's, yeah, I just wanted to contextualize the entire conversation with that being like, if we are genuinely pursuing fixing that, that would be the frame to look through any decision that's made tonight, or that we should view any decision made tonight through.
I think our Public Works Department has been diligently focused on that effort for a while.
Yeah, but like I said, they've got some things that they're working on that could substantially increase the efficacy of their efforts.
For a cost,
Yeah,
which is where are we going to get that?
no, right. I'm saying, so the idea is that, let's say that, the cost of the contractor to find it, would he be an engineer? Is that what he is? Yeah. Is 150,000, whatever you have to do. I guess my thought is, if we're diligent in that, then what we need in the short run should not fully contextualize what we need in the long run.
And it is an engineer, but it's a company who this is the only thing they do.
Right.
They devise these mechanisms that they can sense it better than most.
Right. And because that makes whatever rate we set is a consistent rate that's applied unless we adjust it down, and that, that type of thing almost never happens. Then.
I would say with this board it could.
But that, if whatever rate we decide on stays forever, even after that problem is solved, like, obviously that would be excessive.
So there is an avenue to reduce our sewer flow. We know from this company that has a suggestion, if you'll spend X amount of dollars with us, this will be our plan to search out where this infiltration is. And it's a technology that is proven where they actually measure the flows in the manholes. So, like you're talking about, there is a way to get our sewer rate reduced by reducing our flow.
Right.
And stop paying for the infiltration.
Right. Because it allows the guys that are working diligently to know exactly where to go. And
Know
that's
what to fix.
Yeah, and that's, yeah.
Get there, we're gonna have funding in the utility fund.
Well, that's what I don't understand, is that we're all talking about these things. We talked about some rates. We made a motion. No one had a suggestion for different rates, but yet y'all didn't want to do those. So, I mean, like, what if we make a suggestion? I mean, I just don't feel like there's a lot of talk, but no one's saying a lot of numbers to fix the problem. So, I mean, what are we going to do about water rate? Like, we didn't table it, it's just over, or is it going to come up again? I mean, how does that work?
At this point, it's just been voted down, but we're still in the discussions on all of it.
But I mean, we still have a problem. So does somebody else have another suggestion on how to fix the problem? I mean, we're about a month into this talk. This isn't like our first time that we've brought this up.
This is the third board meeting, so it's been accepted.
So, I mean, it's not like we haven't, I mean, I've spent a lot of time on it. Everybody's had a lot of time. So I'm disappointed that there were no other suggestions. But anyway, go ahead. Who's going to suggest something for DeCrua?
Natalie, while there's a pause, while they're thinking about it, I do want to thank you for taking all of the various budgets and flows and building all of the different spreadsheets you built for this board to look at. Because data is king, and you put together a really good set of it for us, and we appreciate that.
Thank you.
I heard it said in our finance committee meeting that an easy way to solve it would just be to raise the base wastewater charge or raise the DeCrua fee and to a certain amount, and it would just handle it all. And when we're looking at it, really and truly, our DeCrua is where we're the most upside down. And I don't like it as a citizen, but that's where our shortfall really is the most pronounced in our budget, until we get the I&I under control.
It's absolutely our worst problem. I mean, we just said millions of dollars in 2 years.
I believe the city of Olive Branch charges an $18 base fee for the DeCrua and then $4.21 per 1,000 gallons.
$18 base fee for sewer.
It'd have to be $18, but whatever that number gets us. That's a lot of Happy Meals, but, that's something we can talk
Is that an additional base fee or on top of?
I think their base fee, I think our base fee starts at just per 1,000 gallons. They charge an $18 fee just per every user.
water and sewer? Okay.
This is DeCrua, so whatever, I think they're 421 per 1,000 gallons.
I'm looking at their website, 410, $18 base and $4.10.
Is the $18 base for water or for sewer?
That's sewer.
Okay, so an $18 just straight across sewer. And our straight across base for sewer is that $5 wastewater charge. So our base is a whole lot lower, and our DeCrua charge is lower than theirs.
Read the number again, who just says, Olive Branch Road.
For their sewer, they have a base rate of $18 and a $4.10 per 1,000 gallons. So I don't think that base rate includes any gallons at all. So basically, your first 1,000 would be $22.10.
And does that just include their DeCrua, or do they have a separate DeCrua fee?
That, just based on their website, it does not specify DeCrua.
Okay, so they're just pulling it all into sewer and then paying the DeCrua invoice out of their general sewer fees.
That's what it looks like. They're just calling it sewer.
That would make yours go from 768 to 2190.
Yours too? Yeah, it's yours too. Don't forget that's yours too, so, unless we got different rates. Is that what you're saying? Huh?
Alderwoman Lynch, would it be
Okay,
possible
I
for you to
just
plug
wondered.
those numbers in
The 18?
to see kind of what that would change?
I mean,
obviously, that's a huge step up.
so
with
we're
that
talking about
base,
going
you
from
know?
$5 to $18?
Just to plug a number in and look.
I think,
Change in Excel if possible.
yes, but let me get back to where I was. Well, I mean, what percentage is, is that more than the 20%? What is the percentage difference between 5 and 18?
That's 260% if you're going from 5 to 18.
Okay, I mean, that's,
But just on that one line item, that's not aggregating everything, so.
I was hoping there was a cell in an Excel spreadsheet where we could play with that number, the base number potentially.
what?
$5 wastewater charge creates $454,000. That's what we have right now. So if that were 10, it would create another $454,000 annually. $454,000. That's just $5 per household straight up. For wastewater charge.
My numbers I'd played with took it from $5 to $7, which would be 163 annually or 81 for 6 months. That's the one thing I felt like was going to be really difficult to do, would be to take a flat fee and increase it in a significant manner.
Because the flat fee hits the low-end users who are generally maybe seniors or maybe people of lesser means, and it would hit them harder with a flat fee than it would a tiered fee.
I see it though with DeCrua being the bigger problem, that being the one that we focus on more.
Well, at the $3.84 that we're charging right now per thousand for DeCrua, that brings us in about $2,250,000. Added $2 to that, it would probably bring in another $1 million a year annually. Rough numbers. Thoughts on a motion for water or for sewer or DeCrua?
Water, I'd like to make a motion to table that discussion and review it. Now that we've changed the limits for outside users, their base is equal to the inside the city users of the 2,000, just see what that changes. So table and review next meeting, the water.
Well, we've already voted it down, so we can't table it.
Oh. Motion to add it to the agenda for next meeting? I think it would be good to look at it.
I thought we had that $58,000 number for that.
Did it already account for all of that in it? Did it have the actual dollar amount? I'm sorry.
That 58,748 came from Dr. Barrett. I texted him, and that would be just changing the 3,000 to 2,000. Because it would be charging their extra 1,000.
It wasn't printed on mine. That's
Yeah.
why. The number wasn't on my copy. I
Yeah,
apologize.
she sent a follow-up copy.
Okay.
Spare you can pass down. Thoughts? Do something to keep the utility fund rolling along.
Mayor, could we move on to item 24 and come back?
We can? All right, we're just going to move on and then come back to it tonight. Item 24, is requesting board approval of the energy equipment installation contract between the city and SiteLogic, Inc., formerly known as Path Company LLC, as the energy service provider, or ESCO, and for me to sign the contract. This is for partial roofing replacement, 3 HVAC unit replacement, and HVAC control upgrades at the Gale Center, and it is a FY26 budgeted project through the general fund. Jared, you going to come give it a start? A quick start?
Evening, everybody. So on the memo in your packet here, it lays out the scope, so 3 parts, breaks down into what Mayor said. Partial roof replacement, HVAC replacement, 3 units, and then the HVAC controls. It is budgeted for FY26. The process was, so we've been working on this for a couple years. This year, we sent out a RFQ in November. We had 2 respondents. Then named Path Company, now called SiteLogic, was one of the respondents. On December 2nd, brought it to the Board of Aldermen. The scoring committee's recommendation, the scoring team's recommendation to approve that company as our recommendation and to move forward with contract negotiations. So this is where we are. And they're also here if you've got any technical questions.
Anybody have any questions for Jared that need to refamiliarize your?
So, yeah.
What kind of
Miller.
timeline were we talking about?
Yeah, Spencer or Eric might be able to talk.
Hey, I'm Spencer McKnight, Engineering Associate with SiteLogic. For timeline, we're looking at the longest lead time item would be the roof equipment. We're estimating that the project from start to finish would take 6 months on the high end. Realistically, it'd be closer to 5, and about half that time would just be lead time waiting on equipment to come in.
Thank you. What other questions do y'all have? Is there anybody else here that wants to speak on this topic? Okay, if there's no more questions or discussion, is there a motion?
So move.
Second.
A motion and a second, roll call vote.
Alderman McClendon?
Aye.
Alderwoman Lynch?
Aye.
Alderman Miller?
Aye.
Alderman Robinson? Alderman Wicker? Alderman Kitchens?
Motion passed. We can go on to item 25. We have a requested approval for a water adjustment for one that wasn't within our scope to be able to approve. Is Heather Gamble here? Yes, if you would come up. I think y'all have an explanation in your packet there for that one.
How are y'all doing? I've never been to a board meeting before, so bear with me.
We're just people, just talk to us.
Okay,
We're
well,
good.
my dad passed away September 14th unexpectedly, and he left me a transfer on death deed, so I had to presume care of the property as soon as he passed. And I discovered a water leak September 15th. He was on hospice that week, and someone from the city apparently came out and spoke with my aunt, but she said, you can't turn the services off because he's on palliative care. And September 15th, I had a plumber come out and fix the leak. And he charged me a good deal, but, I needed to have it done. And then in October, a bill came in for $300, and I paid that bill. And then I received a second bill that was for $192. So I contacted the water department, trying to clarify what was going on. And apparently the leak had built over into 2 billing periods. And I explained to him that I was the one that paid the $300 bill because my dad was deceased at the time. And then I had paid a plumber close to $500 to have the leak repaired out at the road. And they told me to bring my receipts in, and at the time the utilities were still under my father's name. The death certificate hadn't arrived yet, and so they had me put in one request for the amendment of the bill, and I guess it got turned down. Well, they advised me to come back in and to put the utilities in my name and to bring the death certificate and do a second request to have the bill removed from my account. And I submitted the receipt for having the repair made as well. And no one contacted me, but they turned it down again because I received another bill. And I'm not trying to be greedy or anything, but I've paid almost $800 towards having the water stuff done. And I've never been a homeowner or anything before. I'm not asking for any leniency that anyone else wouldn't want, but it was my dad's leak. Unfortunately, there was nothing I could do about it. I had it fixed, and now I'm just kind of like a regular human fighting a $300 bill. So.
And I think, Denise, I'm going to look to you as a department head, but what I was told is our policy only lets us give a leak adjustment once a year.
Mm-hmm.
And your father had one already in the year, so that's why they turned it down.
Okay. But I'm the one making the request now under my name, and not to be ugly or anything, but I did pay a $300 bill, and the bill over there is typically about $20, so that's a very drastic increase. And now it's under my name, and I'm essentially being left with a bill that I did not incur. And I feel like I did pay my fair share of the dues. $300 towards one water bill is a whole lot, for a small house. We've been doing work and stuff to the house to get moved over there, and if y'all could work with me any type of way, that'd be greatly appreciated, because that's a lot of Happy Meals, as Alderman Miller said.
Mr. Attorney, what's your thoughts on it? I mean, we've got a policy, and it feels like the leak happened while the father was alive, and so it was his second leak. I'm not sure.
Well, I mean, if you're going to follow your policy, then the adjustment was already given on that account, and this leak happened, as I understand it, while the father was still alive and it was still his account. So technically, the city rule says that you would not be qualified for another adjustment. That's by the book. If you want to make an exception under these circumstances, I certainly can do that. I mean, the man was on hospice care. I mean, other considerations, but you're asking me legally by the book, then I don't think that it would qualify for a second adjustment.
Any board members have a thought or questions?
Question on that, would it be legal for us to set up like a payment plan or something? Because I know that is a big bill to have all at once. Is there any way we could spread it out like legally? Or if that's been done before?
We do payment plans.
Okay.
And obviously, the overriding, I'm sorry, Mayor, I didn't mean to cut you off. You can't give away water, obviously. That's a state, forever been the law in the state. And so that's what the city's trying to avoid, breaching that law, because that's an absolute no. So that's the rationale behind it. It's not personal.
Yeah, no, I understand that.
But certainly a payment plan would be in order.
But my question to that, not to interrupt anyone, is now it is in my name, and John Miles is no longer here, and I did pay $303 worth of John Miles's bill, and now it's under me, so essentially y'all transferred my father's debt to my new account, and so really I'm being left with the previous person's bill.
That's an interesting concept.
That is a twist in the facts, because that would go to the estate of your father.
And he did a transfer on death deed to where that anything and everything he had was pretty much settled up and summed up then. Like if he had anything left over that he owed, I didn't have to pay it, but he didn't have any debts that he owed. He was a working citizen until January, whenever he was diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer that spread to his lungs and his liver, and it took him within 6 months, very quickly. He was a avid worker, kept his yard cut, and was a great citizen to the community. And
so could we, this was her father's bill.
That's right.
Not her bill.
Correct. That stays with the father. Okay. It would have to go, I mean, I was unaware that the amount was transferred to your account.
Can I explain why it does that?
Sure.
Hold up.
It was transferred because he died. So actually, all we would have to do is we can go back to when he died. Instead of transferring it into her name, she pays a new deposit, has her own account, the leak stays on Dad's account.
But that sounds like the legal thing to do.
Yeah, a lot of things I don't know about the question. I thought she opened a new account.
We transferred.
Transferred, okay, yes.
When you bring me a death certificate, you don't have to open it.
There we go. So that's the difference. To avoid that, you need a new deposit, new account, then that debt goes with your father.
I mean, that's fine. I've already paid $303 and a $454 plumbing bill. Like that hurt.
So can you come in tomorrow and have them transferred into your name totally and put up the new deposit and just, it'll all be yours?
Okay, we could do that. All right.
I don't think that needs a vote. That just sounds like a process we just need to be following now that we've come to all the facts. Or somebody want to make a motion to that effect? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Okay.
Thank you so much.
You'll come
My
in
dad
tomorrow,
would
Casey will work
appreciate
with you
y'all
on
too.
it.
Thank you.
Sorry for your loss.
Let's go. Thank you, Ms. Campbell. Let's go ahead and just do the item 26 utility adjustments. Is there a motion on those?
So moved.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The utility adjustments passed.
Mayor, one quick thing, it's pretty minor, but on the Winningham, I didn't catch how long that was tabled for, so I can look that up if you want to come back.
And I don't think it's stated in the motion. What were we assuming?
I
I think we were assuming the next meeting is what,
Yeah, I figured the next planning meeting was my intention.
just for the record, does everybody think we were saying that was going to happen the next meeting? So the clerk can put it in the minutes.
Actually, I don't know if I made that motion. Who made that?
Whoever made it. Alderman Wicker? Yeah. Just to, can I have a motion to clarify what date we are tabling the Winningham to?
Move that we table it to the planning meeting, whatever date that is, of
March.
The planning meeting?
the one that we talked about planning. What is the date?
Well, I don't want to.
The second board meeting.
30 days. The next meeting would be March 3rd or March 17th would be the next regular
Yeah.
stuff items on.
Well, it's the 17th. So, should that be?
Maybe the March 3rd. They'd probably like to get it done since we already tabled them.
Okay. So the March 3rd, that's fine.
All right. There's a motion for March 3rd on that table. Is there a second? All in favor, say aye.
Abstain. I was recused
Yep.
from the first one, so.
Yep. And the motion passes, so now we know what day it's tabled to. All right, now we will go back to our previous numbered items, 16 and 17. We do not. I'm so sorry. I just thought y'all loved being with us.
And I learned a lot. You guys wrestled with.
You learned some stuff you're going to want to get out of your brain. Thank y'all for the help. Okay, back to item 17, which we were on, was the accrual rates and sewer rates. Any further thoughts?
Did y'all have a recommendation on it? The crew?
I think we've provided a recommendation. I think we're kind of just discussing raising it $1, adding a surcharge.
Yeah, we did not have a recommendation come out of the committee for sure on that. We thought it was such a big deal, we needed the whole board's input on it.
I think based upon what you were saying, the number said that was one of the biggest downside of everything we got.
We're paying about a million or more per year, more than we were bringing in that line item. Just the drill line item. So that's why the Citizens Utility Fund has been, one of the bigger reasons it's been depleting. We've been spending more to DeCrua than we're bringing in on the DeCrua line item. By hundreds of thousands.
So $1, all you good number of people. And we raised the 384 to 484. What would that do for us?
I've got the,
Yeah.
I have the thing pulled up, so I can tell you
Okay.
exactly.
Oh, yeah, okay. You must look at
But it takes it a minute. It has to think.
Yeah, it does have to think.
The little guy swims and bikes and runs.
I think earlier she said 267,000.
for $1.
Yeah, that's what she said, 267.5.
And that's annually, right? That's
Is that what-
annually.
But that wasn't a
Oh,
whole
wait.
dollar what I was talking about was $4.50.
Yeah, you said 398 was what you had.
But prior to that,
Okay, so $4.84 will be an annual, it doesn't tell me exactly, I have to subtract, about $400,000 annually.
Yeah, that makes sense. Because 475 was going to do 398 annually. Go up $1 to 484 would bring a little over 400,000.
That's my recommendation.
But that's just half,
I'm just saying.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's annually, so that would just
But
be,
more gonna use more than one. They're gonna use more than 1,000 gallons, right? So it's gonna actually double that. Every person use 2,000 gallons.
well, I mean, this is based on, this is the,
yeah, that takes
should
account
be
for that.
pretty exact.
Well, but that's my recommendation, so.
So that would be a $400,000 approximate annual increase, 200,000 for the last 6 months of this year on the DeCrua rate.
So we're still short about 250?
Somebody want to make a motion on the DeCrua rate? Or you want to keep talking about it to make sure we get them all together.
Make a motion that we increase it $1.
Motion on the
To
table to
484.
increase the decreal rate from 384,000 to 484,000. Is there a second to that motion?
Ask for like a second, okay.
Is there a second? Okay, that motion died for lack of a second. Is there a different motion?
I guess I just think we need to just discuss, even if we did it $1, where are we gonna make up the rest? I mean, do we need to talk about cutting out street paving? Do we need to talk about, I mean, some other, we're already gonna have to adjust the general fund a bit for the things that we're moving into there. So it's not like there's not gonna be much surplus over there.
How do the approved street paving expenses compare to what we're taking in? I know we've been running kind of a surplus in that account, and a lot of the things in
I think
Public Works would be used for that.
after we moved the interest over and with the estimate of the bid package for this year, plus the most of Grant Street, I think we're
just about out.
unless we decrease some of the streets that we have approved to pave, I think we're pretty much covered the whole thing.
We still got half of the ongoing paving bill due that we started in the fall that we'll finish in the spring. We've got an estimated $2 million paving project that's going to be advertised shortly. And we've got the 700 and some odd thousand most of grant match for that road to do. So after we took the 270 out of there, there's not much left there. It would just be enough to make us comfortable doing the streets that we're doing.
Long-term.
$3.71. 384.
But they're not paying for the I&I. Somebody's got to pay for the I&I. That's the difference, which is a big difference. Rate proposals that are different than what have been. The water rates got voted down at that rate. The deferral rate did not get a second.
We raise our surcharge from $5 to $16.
That's the wastewater charge? Yes. $5 to $16. Is there a second to that motion? Math on that one while y'all are thinking.
I think that'll solve our problem.
You already done that on your math? What do you think that would generate? 6 months? Okay. There's a motion to increase the wastewater charge $5 to $16. Give a 6-month $459 or an annual $900.
Also address our long-term problem.
That we could pay the I&I people for or with. It's a solution that would work. So that, you're saying that would be the only thing we do?
The water rate increase, we could talk about that in October.
And so that would just be, everybody would see an $11 increase.
1,832 people on the crew.
I think that fee needs to be raised. I just think that's too much.
Do you have any suggestions?
What the-
Never seen you so quiet at a meeting.
Well, I don't spoke mine. And was that directed specifically at me for any reason?
I think you're the one earlier that, kept talking about Happy Meals and things and sitting there voted no.
Well, because I thought it was extremely
But
high.
you have not put any proposal on the table.
I did put a proposal on the,
What's your proposal, $1? That's half of what we need.
well, it's still my proposal.
Okay, well, that's not a proposal.
What, you can't say my proposal wasn't a proposal? It's one that you didn't agree with. You
Keep
can
playing,
say
it's all
that.
right, people watching, keep playing, it's funny, it's funny.
No,
Everybody
I ain't
laugh at
playing
you,
with it.
keep playing. All funny. You made me sniff.
What if, I'm listening to Alderman Miller and Alderman Wicker. What if there was a way to split that and raise the wastewater flat rate to a certain number and the DeCrua to a certain number that are both lower numbers, so it's partial on each? Anybody like that idea?
So raising it from 5 to 16 is how much? But how much?
459.12.
Over 6 months.
We can always come back next year and adjust that when we adjust the water rates. Going forward forever. Doesn't seem like there's consensus to raise the water rates. We've been sitting there for almost 3 hours.
If we raise the wastewater to $10, that'd be $200,000. If we raise DeCrua to $5, that would be about $225,000. Pretty close.
Grew it to $5. $10, you say, okay. Was yours in the form of a motion, Alderman Wicker?
Yeah, I think it died. I don't think we ever got a second on that.
Okay. Okay, there was not a second to that, so that motion died. Is there a new motion? I heard another proposal that was kind of in the middle of the two.
I'll try again.
And then one more, what would that generate?
I think about a little over 400.
420 or so.
I'll move to raise the wastewater to $10 and DeCrua to $5.
Motion and a second. Have a roll call vote.
Alderwoman Lynch.
Aye.
Alderman Miller.
Nay.
Alderman Robinson. Alderman Wicker.
Aye.
Alderman Kitchens.
No.
Alderman McClendon.
I get to vote. I vote aye. So we can get this done, and we'll always have the opportunity to come back and lower these if revenues come in more than we expected. This will get us through the rest 6 months of this year. That motion passes.
Can we get some updated numbers before the next meeting with these projected for the next 6 months?
Yes. So what I think we need to do is we'll come up with some projections of what the amended budget needs to look like. Call a committee, a finance committee meeting to make sure we all agree on it, and then we'll bring it to the next board.
Can I say one thing now? I mean, since we've addressed this now,
Yes, sir.
please, going forward, can we know about this before we got whatever this number is? If we know in October we're missing payments and stuff, please bring it. We got to communicate.
Absolutely.
I think we're coming together as a board now. We've got to communicate better what's going on.
I was just speaking
I
to
agree
my wife
100%
this
with that.
afternoon, and my one comment to her was, I wish I would have told the board quicker as soon as I found out that we had a deficit, so.
Ready to go, I'm gonna buy Andrew a half a meal tonight, so let's go.
All right.
Motion to adjourn.
I want to go to the parish, man.
All in favor, say aye. We are adjourned.